Well, joining me live is the Shadow Communications Minister Melissa McIntosh. Thanks for your time. What should Anika Wells do about this growing expenses scandal around her, and what should the Prime Minister do?
I'll start with the latter. I think the Prime Minister yesterday saying she was within the rules, within the guidelines is just not good enough. He does have a ministerial code of conduct that his ministers have to follow. He should step up and say whether his minister is following his rules that he set for the standard of his team. For the minister, it's almost a gift that keeps on giving, but it's not a gift that anyone wants. She needs to be upfront with the Australian people, I think, now. I felt for her when it comes to family reunion. She's a mum. It's tough. Politics is tough. But I also said she should never have left her post during a 000 crisis. I pushed that at the time. And the fact that she went overseas, did a whole lot of PR at a great expense, I don't think washes very well with the Australian people. And now there's more revelations.
What trip shouldn't she have done?
She shouldn't have gone to the US. That's number
one. What about
one.
Adelaide?
Well, that's questionable. I know you sort of pushed her on whether she knew that she had a mate's party. I don't think she's come back to you just yet. She was going to look into those timelines. So,
it's pretty obvious what happened to me.
Well, she needs to be clear.
What about Thredbo skiing?
That's the one that's, I know it's Thredbo. The one where it's around your children coming to you is a challenging one. Thredbo is not a good look because it is part of a bigger, a bigger story here around
the minister. Well, it's expensive to go skiing in Thredbo.
Well, it is, and people can't afford that expense. It's not. So
do you think she shouldn't have taken that trip?
Well, she wanted to take it in lieu of her role
or
as
paid
a
for the
sports
kids
minister.
at least.
Yes, and if it was a standalone trip, there may be, she hasn't seen her kids for some time, but this is part of a pattern of behaviour that we're seeing from this minister, and she's throwing around taxpayer money like it's confetti.
Can I ask if you've ever timed an official trip to coincide with a private event like a birthday party or a wedding yourself?
No, I have not.
You've never timed an official trip?
I've had my son, when he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, join me in Queensland, and I had to go through a lot of back and forth with the department to make sure that was clear because he had a competition that time.
Well, let's discuss that. I think I've got this. So in June 2023, you travelled to the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And at that time, your son Byron was in the Australian National Judo Championships. So can you confirm you claimed $760 in travel allowance and $1,008 in return flights? Did that include your son's flight?
My son's flight to Queensland to be with me, he was just diagnosed, and because he was competing in the championships, we paid for him to come home because I thought that was the appropriate way to do that.
Did you travel business class? You were Shadow Assistant Minister. Did he?
No.
What official duties did you perform on your time in the Gold Coast?
I was Shadow Minister for Mental Health at the time, so I had a number of roundtable discussions, visited various colleagues, went to different electorates, what you do when you're...
Did you know, this goes back to the Adelaide example for Anika Wells. Did you know about the championship before you planned the trip?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I was invited at that point in time by a colleague up, and it was set. And because I knew that Byron's championships for that time, I cleared it with EPA a number of times. I didn't want this question mark over my head.
You knew his championships were on, right? And then you planned the trip.
I planned the trip, and then Byron was coming with me, and I wanted to clear it with EPR because you don't want any of these discrepancies.
But look, you planned the trip, and then happily, in this great coincidence, your son makes the national championships.
No, this is what I'm saying to you. So if we can clear this up.
Yeah.
I was invited, and it was set by a date that I would be going up to Queensland
invited
at that
by
time. It was Karen. She was a member for McPherson, and I was the Shadow Minister. Byron had his championships at that time, and we knew. And I said to Ipia many times, I said, Byron, he's coming up with me. He's just been diagnosed with type 1. I want him to be with me, but he's also got these championships. He took photos for me at the time. I didn't take any staff with me. But because...
Why did she invite you then?
That was one of the dates. So this was...
Which happened to be when your son's championships were on.
Well, that wasn't something that came into consideration at the time. She invited... That was a date that she set. I said yes. Happy to show more information.
I've got another one. You might not be surprised to learn I've got another one. So in 2021, you travelled to the Bathurst 1000. At that time, you claimed a family travel claim of $429.64. You got a nice Selfie with ScoMo there. Yeah. Who was the family member that travelled with you?
That was another son. So
and what family duties what official duties did you perform?
The Prime Minister invited me and my son on that trip, along with another colleague and her son as well. And it was on the invite of the Prime Minister.
So, apart from attending the race, what official duties did you have?
Well, it was with work with the Prime Minister at the time. That was with Scott Morrison. So it was official duties with him and the Premier as well.
And during the election campaign, a family member accompanied you to Melbourne while you campaigned.
So
which family member was that?
That was my daughter. So we went to Melbourne. It was to announce, it was within my portfolio, announce a social media strategy around protecting kids online. And she's in that age group and it was school holidays and it was a last minute decision. So she came along with me. So
are you in the best place to be criticising Anika Wells?
I think if you ask most members of Parliament, shadow ministers, and I said to you, I have no issue with the family reunion thing. It's hard being a female MP. My son, when he came to Queensland, was just diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. So he came with me. I wanted to be with him. When it was my daughter, it was the school holidays and it was a last-minute trip with the opposition leader, and it was about an issue that impacted young people. So I took her with me. You could ask every single MP here when it comes to being with your kids. But I think it's the discrepancy between wanting to be with your children because we have a tough job and you bring them along where you can, as opposed to an exclusive destination and a pattern
but the Bathurst 1000, presumably you're in a box. That's an exclusive destination. That's what Anika Wells has done with the grand finals.
At that time I was with the Prime, it was upon request of the Prime Minister. That's your boss. You say, yes, you'll be there.
But you don't have to take one of your children.
The invite, he was with me on the plane and we went with the Prime Minister.
So where has Anika Wells, where does her situation differ with yours? Let's take New York out of it. Let's take Paris out of it, because she obviously spent too much, in my view, on dinner in Paris.
I felt for her as a mum, and I did have a big
So AFL
problem.
Grand Final's okay if she wants to bring her family?
Well, I think in those regards, they're exclusive events. It's a Formula One. It's, you've got the AFL Grand Final, you've got the cricket, and it's not your kids, it's your husband. I think on multiple occasions that's questionable. They're big events, they're very expensive events, they're very exclusive events.
It's the volume.
Yeah, and the type. So if you bring your child with you to work, and I'll put myself in this because you've raised it. So going to an event or a visit during the election campaign on an important issue, school holidays, it's hard. You bring your child with you. It's very different, I think, than a pattern of events that's a lot of money during a cost of living crisis.
And the other different feature was you mentioned you went economy. She seems to always go business. Is that a conscious decision by you when you're taking a family member to travel economy?
I went economy, and I think
What about the Melbourne trip? Did your family member go business then?
No.
There you go.
I went economy. And I think, I don't know, the family reunion aspect of it was set up because you are away from your family for a long time, and there has been a lot of family breakdowns, and I think it's important. But it's around when it's stretched to I guess when the barriers are broken. So the rules are there, the guidelines are there.
But do the guidelines need changing at all?
I've said this today. I think the guidelines can be complex. Like you've asked questions of me.
Should your husband or wife or children have to go economy, for example, instead of business?
If there's that expectation within the Australian public that the boundaries or the guidelines are being stretched too far.
Well, they're trying to save money.
Well, let's look at that and the circumstances. If it's related specifically to an important part of your work, or you haven't seen, I don't know. It's a difficult one, and the guidelines are obviously not clear enough for some people.
She says, Anika Wells, in relation to New York, she was dealing with people who had died here because of the Optus 000 outage and people who'd lost their kids because of social media and balancing the two. What do you make of that?
Well, it's a very important issue, but during the Optus crisis, people had died. So she was talking about people, young people as well, but it was actually happening at that time. The crisis was still unfolding. So I think she should have been here, and I've said this a lot, stayed at her post. The Prime Minister was in New York. He could have represented Australia. Because of that last-minute decision, the expenses were extremely high.
Do you think Do you understand why they're that high when it's that last minute, or does it still puzzle you why it's that high?
It's still, I think we looked at some of the prices for the next day, even first class, and it was at the very expensive end of even first class.
What about the dinner in Paris? She gets there, she's with a staffer,
fell asleep.
She meets the ambassador and a departmental official, and they spend $1,700, 2 different bills.
Yeah.
Is that...
Well, that's questionable, isn't it?
Do you think she should repay any of this?
Well, if she wasn't she said she'd fallen asleep and she wasn't particularly participating, then perhaps she needs to look at which parts of her trip that perhaps don't stack up to
would you
the
ever
pub's
dream
best.
of going to a $1,700 dinner in Paris on the taxpayer?
No, I would not do that. I would not do that.
Let's talk briefly about the social media ban. I'm out of time, but I'm going to keep going. Sorry about that, directors. But the opposition seems to be expressing cautious support here and preparing for a situation where the ban fails. And you can leap on that. Is that a fair characterisation?
No, I don't want it to fail. This is about protecting Australian children.
But you're being cautious. You're not whole-throated in your support here.
I've been in this position for a couple of months now where I've been really pressuring the government. There's too many gaps. There's platforms that are still not even included in the ban that we know kids are migrating across to, and people will be requiring digital ID. It's the lack of attention to detail on this, too much PR, not enough detail, that I am very concerned about, because we do want to protect Australian children.
Melissa McIntosh, thanks so much for your time.